Welcome to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. Happy New Year's Eve from all of us at Court TV. Today, we are counting down the top trials that define 2025 from murder cases that gripped the nation to high-profile verdicts that made headlines. These are the trials that had you watching from gavel to gavel. Before we get to our list, here's a look at the cases that brought drama, emotion, and unforgettable courtroom moments to your screen.
She placed Evelyn's body in a kitchen trash can, upside down in a trash can, still in her purple fleece onesie and diaper.
I said, I don't care what I got to do. I said, I want to know what's going on.
Where did this baby go? I don't know.
The first-degree murder and the perpetration of a felony. It's a judgment of this court. You are guilty.
Raul Valle is why Charles is dead.
No doubt on my mind that they killed him.
He's dead. Alex killed him. It was horrible.
Conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, guilty.
And then, bang! He heard a shot and his window shattered.
If there was anyone you knew who might want to harm you?
Lori and Alex.
Conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, guilty.
She clipped John O'Keefe. He fell backwards, broke his skull.
She's the victim of a botched and biased and corrupted investigation.
Stop talking, calm down, you're hysterical. So she repeated, I hit him.
Didn't I say, could I have hit him? Did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming?
The investigation was done with honor, integrity.
He wrote, no nudes so far.
The location and orientation of the laceration on John O'Keefe's right forearm and arm are consistent with the geometry and orientation of the right taillight of the Reed 2021 Lexus LX 570.
With regard to this particular 10-mile-an-hour test, what did you note in terms of the damage to the taillight?
It was very minimal.
As it pertained to the subject taillight using the 29-mile-an-hour test?
It was inconsistent.
Defendant not guilty or guilty?
When, if ever, would Sean mention the freak-off videos to you?
He would mention them when he was upset about something. He just wanted to hurt me.
She told me that Sean Combs had found out about us.
He mentioned that when we were out of the country, that Scott's car would be blown up.
Mr. Combs sounded very nervous, just was talking really fast. If this got out, it could ruin him.
Today's a great victory. It's a great victory for Sean Combs.
I'm glad he got found guilty on something, at least better than nothing at all.
They were a little, who are you guys? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. It escalates when one of them grabs Heinz's beer out of his hand.
Said something along the lines of, like, I think I just stabbed like 4 people or something like that.
And you stabbed Ryan Hines in his chest.
Wasn't aiming or anything.
Do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
I observed him push her boyfriend away and then go in for like a headlock.
Did you have any fear of dying?
Her face, it was looking like pale and her eyes were starting to roll back.
Find the defendant Ihsan Ali guilty of the lesser crime of assault in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant Zahra Ali not guilty of the crime of attempted murder in the second degree.
Donna Adelson was part of a conspiracy to hire a hitman to kill her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
The woman who wanted him to be killed was Wendy Adelson.
Yes.
You testified that your mother hated Danny at the time that he was killed. Do you remember saying that?
I think she was mad at him.
The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
Who would think a 6-year-old's gonna bring a gun to school and shoot their teacher? It's Dr. Parker's job to believe that that is possible.
It was my understanding that administration wouldn't think twice as well when alerted about a potential gun in school.
We, the jury, on the issues joined, find in favor of the plaintiff, Abigail Zwerner.
Look at me. Did you kill your father?
No, sir.
You left him there. Hit him in the head. He's unconscious, not moving. No, this is because it's empty. I don't have you cut his head off.
He cut his head off.
Find the defendant, Devyn Jade Michaels, as follows. Guilty of first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon.
Trinity Poague resented this child.
If the baby dies, somebody's getting charged with murder.
She killed that little boy. She cracked his skull.
On count 1, not guilty. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
And that is a look at the trials that defined 2025. So where does your favorite fall on our list? Let us know, which trial do you think deserves the top spot? Let's find out as we start our countdown with number 10. And that's Nevada versus Devyn Michaels. The former porn star was found guilty of bludgeoning and decapitating her ex-boyfriend, Jonathan Willett, the night before he was supposed to move back in with her. Prosecutors argued that Michaels was unhappy with how quickly the move was happening and was afraid it would disrupt the life that she had with her new husband, Devyn Willett, who also happened to be, get this, the victim's son. Here's Court TV's Cody Thomas with a closer look at our number 10 trial of 2025.
On the morning of August 7, 2023, Henderson police spoke with Jonathan Willett's mother after she discovered his decapitated body in his bedroom.
Around what time did that call come out?
Don't know the exact time, but I roughly think it was around 8:50-ish.
Jonathan Willett was living with his mother in a house on Palo Duro Drive.
I now want to focus on August 6th of 2023. That's the day before you found John. Tell me about that day, what you remember.
Around 6 o'clock, 6 p.m., he was packing by himself.
Prosecutors say the night before he died, Jonathan was preparing to move back in with his ex-girlfriend and the mother of their daughters, Devyn Michaels, who was also known as Nikki.
Around 8 o'clock, Nikki came.
Did Nikki come in her own vehicle?
That's correct.
About 2 hours later, surveillance video showed Jonathan and Devyn at a convenience store.
Do you remember what time John and Nikki came back to your house?
Around 10 o'clock.
Several hours later, Jonathan Willett's mother says she heard a loud noise.
1:15, she went to the bed, and then around 2 o'clock while she was sleeping, she got some noise.
Was it like a bang?
Something like that.
Investigators accessed data on Devyn's vehicle, a Nissan Armada, that showed her leaving Jonathan's house around 2:04 a.m. They also say that the cell phone data from both Jonathan and Devyn's phones showed them traveling together at that time. At 2:28 a.m., Devyn is seen at a CVS pharmacy drive-thru. No one else is seen in her car. According to her car's infotainment system, she arrived at her house on Porcupine Rim at 2:44 a.m.
All right, let's welcome in our guests for this hour to discuss. Joining us from Washington, D.C., law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter, and in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Franz Borgart. Thank you both for staying with us as we break this down. Franz, let me start with you. Another case of beheading my ex. Why not just get divorced? But that's not what happened.
I don't know what's in the water where people, rather than just breaking up with their partners, decide to dismember or decapitate them. I'll tell you, Judge, what I loved about this case was the cross use of forensics to really paint the picture of what happened, when it happened, including video, car data. These are things that we are starting to see really emerge in modern criminal prosecutions. And it was good to see those dominoes get lined up to ultimately show that she, did what she did.
And, note that at one point she did admit, Sonny, to clubbing him over the head, but she denied beheading him or killing him. Obviously, that defense didn't work, but tell me your thoughts.
I agree. Good morning, Judge Ashley. Great to be with you and Franz this morning. You know, I'm with Franz. She pled guilty to one thing, and we've seen this in other cases this year, but then she didn't plead guilty to the beheading, but all of the forensic evidence says otherwise, and whether she did it directly or indirectly, she was found guilty, which I believe was the right verdict. People are really heinous these days. Get divorced, leave the other person, don't have any contact, but all of this dismemberment and beheading, it's awful.
It is unbelievable to me, and the more we cover, the more we see, I feel like. So let's listen together to some of her interview, because I want to talk to you about the number 2 question on my mind, which is, why do defendants talk? All right, let's listen together.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't remember being there that long. I didn't know I left.
Okay, so is it possible you did it? You don't remember?
Yes, sir. It is very possible.
Okay.
I don't remember doing any of this. I know I don't remember being there that damn long. I remember getting my daughter's medication. I remember being home. I don't remember even hitting him like that. I know he was pissing me off, so I hit him, but it wasn't anything where he was dead. He was breathing. He definitely had his head on him. You guys were trying to say I did all this stuff. I did not.
It's very possible I did it and don't remember. Franz, again, you know, we know you guys are great attorneys, and I know you tell clients, do not talk to anyone. Call me, don't talk to anyone. Here she is admitting, yeah, it's very possible I did it and don't remember, Franz.
So I'm convinced it's a combination of things, guys. I think it's in part, I'm going to talk my way out of this. This hubris, this belief that I'm smarter than everybody else, and I'm going to talk my way out of this, and I'm going to walk out that door, and they're not going to arrest me. Part of it's that. Part of it's also just good old-fashioned. I think when you get in the hot seat, you got to remember, Judge, and Sonny will confirm this, these guys are trained to elicit information through interrogation and questioning. It is a skill. It's not just magical. They've been trained to do it. And so the more you ramble, the more they get to use their techniques and skills, and they're very good at it.
They're very...
That said, remain silent.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Franz, but you're right. They're very good at it. And Sonny, they can lie. They have the ability to have a lot of leeway in how they get a defendant to talk. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, you know, I kept listening to this interview, and as someone who has sat in on these type of interrogations, the one thing that I kept hearing her say is, I don't recall. They were picking up on that. And law enforcement, there's always 2 people in the room. One is taking very unique notes, whether they're writing them down or just listening, and the other one is conducting the interrogation. If you notice, there's never 2 people talking at the same time. Rarely will you see that, because they are trained to, one, listen, the other one, and ask the questions, and then to work in concert. And the skill around lying is to do whatever is necessary to get the person who thinks that they're going to outsmart the police in a box where they can't outsmart the police. Very unique set of skills, very strategic.
You're right, and they think, oh, we can lie, we can get away with it. I think some are also in denial, kind of forgetting or blocking out that they actually committed one of these heinous crimes. Stand by, both of you would, please. We need to take a break, but coming up, you don't want to miss it. We reveal number 9 on our list of the top trials of 2025. Plus, head to courttv.com to check out a list of the strangest expert witnesses of the year. Who could forget this real-life pants-on-fire moment from the battered and burned murder trial? That's when a fire investigator showed the jury videos of him demonstrating fire-consumed sweatpants with and without gasoline.
And I threw it at it, backed up, and then threw a match. You could see right in the beginning of the picture that when I threw the match, The liquid didn't ignite, everything around it ignited, and that's what I wanted them to see.
Coming soon to Court TV.
A Microsoft executive gunned down. Now his ex and her new husband are charged with his murder.
I'm gonna kill her.
An alleged murder plot involving a family's au pair and the married father she worked for.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
Why do you have something against me?
She wrote a children's book about her husband's death. Now she's accused of killing him.
The high-stakes trials you don't want to miss. Coming soon, only on Court TV.
He kind of like spun her around in a way because she didn't want to go with him, and he like grabbed her and put her in a headlock.
She reported fuzzy feeling like her whole life was flashing before her eyes.
Did you have any fear?
Yes.
About what?
Of dying.
Okay. Are you saying anything?
No.
A daughter forced to testify against her parents, shocking video evidence and a cultural divide. All put the trial for Ihsan and Zara Ali at our number 9 spot of the top trials of the year. Video footage captured the chaotic scene that unfolded outside of a bus stop last year when both parents confronted their 17-year-old daughter after she had run away from home earlier that day. Prosecutors tried to argue that Ihsan and Zara Ali tried to kill Fatima Ali that day, but a jury ended up acquitting both parents of the top charge, instead finding the father guilty of assault and unlawful imprisonment, while the mother was only found guilty of violating a no-contact order involving her daughter's boyfriend. Coming in at the number 9 spot in our top trials of the year, Washington State versus Ihsan and Zara Ali.
Mr. Ali compressed Fatima's neck until her eyes rolled into the back of her head, until her face turned pale, and until she lost consciousness. And rather than help her daughter, Mrs. Ali also put her hands and arms around her daughter's neck.
You're going to see 42 punches, 3 kicks to the head, all done by Isaiah and his friends to Mr. Alford.
Was he saying or doing anything while he was choking the female?
No, he did not say a word. You can see the tension in his hands. You can tell she could not breathe, and just by the fact that her eyes started to go into the back of her head.
I observed him push her boyfriend away and then go in for like a headlock. And then he punches me. And then for a second, I don't know what happened for a second. And then I seen him like grab her, and they had got to the ground. I start punching him as he's choking her.
I just knew that my dad was choking me.
Were you speaking or breathing or saying anything?
No.
What about air? Could you feel the ability to breathe?
No.
Did you have any pain?
Yes.
And where was that pain?
On my neck.
What are you thinking during this period of time?
Heartbroken.
Okay. By what?
For what my dad did.
Okay. Did you have any fear?
Yes.
About what?
Of dying.
You have shared with the police and with others that you felt like your mom wasn't trying to hurt you. Fair?
Yeah.
Your mom is just there holding you as you regain consciousness, correct?
Yeah.
On the 18th of October, 4 o'clock in the morning rolled around. You decided that you didn't want to go to Iraq, right?
Yes.
Prior to that point, at 4 o'clock in the morning on the day you were scheduled to leave, you had not discussed that with your parents, had you?
I did not discuss that.
You lie when you think people are going to get mad at you?
Yes.
Was it intended at all when he's there? Or is it just circumstantial, right? Just because I'm on the ground, I've been tackled, I've been dragged, I've been kicked, I've been punched, I'm hanging on to my daughter. I don't know who these people are trying to take her, but I sure don't want to let her go. Something a father would do.
He takes her to the ground. He holds her in that choke for an extended period of time.
We, the jury, find the defendant Ihsan Ali not guilty of the crime of attempted murder in the second degree, guilty of the lesser crime of assault in the second degree, guilty of the crime of unlawful imprisonment of assault in the fourth degree. We, the jury, find the defendant Zahra Ali not guilty of the crime of attempted murder in the second degree. We, the jury, find the defendant Zahra Ali guilty of the crime of violation of a court order as charged in count 5.
Still with us, Sonny Slaughter and Franz Borgart. Let's be honest, that video was horrific, hard to watch. The jury saw that video more than once. So, Sonny, were you surprised that these parents were acquitted of trying to murder their own daughter watching that video?
So watching the video, it's very horrific. However, this is our criminal justice system at its best, because this is the reason why we have a jury of our peers and cases happen in communities where crimes are committed, because people have an understanding. This was one of the best versions of our systems where cultural competency and understanding of beliefs and values that differ from one another shows us that people in the community can have a lens bigger than what we often think our own is based on our own experiences. Now, I always respect the jury's decision. I think it was a hard video to watch. I believe that the father really, really tried to harm her, but the people in the community made very specific decisions based on what they know and their own lived experiences.
And their culture. All right, Franz, weigh in. Do you agree, disagree? Where do you stand on the acquittal of the top charge?
So sometimes trials are about not whether or not you did something, but what you did. And what are we saying that that crime is? And this is a clear textbook example of, it wasn't an issue of who done it. It was an issue of, what are we doing with this video? What is this? And candidly, Judge, if they don't believe that he wanted to kill her, then you can't get to attempt murder. If he didn't want to kill her, if he was trying to do something else, which is what I think they came down to, then they did the right thing. That said, this was a rough one. This was a rough one because it's on video. The whole thing is on video. And how can your heart not kind of sink a little bit when you're watching this child get beaten savagely by the one person who's supposed to protect her?
Yeah, and they were convicted on lesser counts, but let's hear what the victim herself, Fatima, their own daughter, had to say after the verdict.
I want people to know that if anybody can really step up for someone, like how Isaiah stepped up for me, he really helped me look and really realize that this is not okay. It's never okay. And I want people to know, your parents hit you and you get a really bad mark, that is illegal in the first place. Everybody knows that. I never knew that when I first got here. People need to realize, need to get more help. I never got the help I needed until this really happened. I had to really get choked for me to get help. I didn't want that, but that's the only way I got help. And I want people to really speak for themselves. That's why I kept running away, because I didn't want to get hurt. I felt in danger. I didn't want to be in that house. That house made me feel like something was going on. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I can't function right if I'm in that household because of the way they're treating me, making me stay in my house for the longest time, for at least 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm just sitting there like I'm in jail, like I'm a bad kid. That's what they're saying, which all I'm trying to do is just follow my dreams.
What a big advocate for speaking up if this is happening. And she even says, I didn't realize it was illegal for a parent to hit you, to leave marks on you as a result of that. Franz, weigh in. You know, what a strong young lady to make that statement.
So we take things for granted, right? We in the criminal justice system, no matter what side we're on, we take for granted, for example, exactly what she said. We assume that everybody knows that abuse is a crime. It's wrong. But not everybody does. And if you sprinkle in some cultural differences, and that was a big issue in this case, was what do we do with the cultural difference between this and, say, the next person next door? I think that her mental state as a result of this experience is exactly where we want survivors.
Yeah, what a case. All right, stand by. Coming up, we're going to bring you number 8 on our top trials of 2025. It's a mother who killed her own child. Sadly, it was just one of many tragic trials this year involving the murder of children. Another one was the trial of Trinity Poague, a former pageant queen accused of killing her boyfriend's toddler son. This is my passion, the murder of children. Find out if that made the list of top trials of the year.
Initially, I told him I didn't know he was with my girlfriend. Then when my girlfriend got there, well, when she got there, she said he fell off a chair.
Welcome back to Court TV Live, where we are counting down the top 10 trials from 2025 this morning. From eyebrow-raising defendants to the sometimes stranger-than-fiction headlines, the year was full of trials that had us hooked from gavel to gavel. And coming in at number 8 on our list today is the trial for a young mom who was convicted of killing her own 15-month-old daughter. It's Tennessee versus Megan Boswell.
Tell us where she's at.
I don't know for sure. I really don't.
First, Hunter's mom was watching her, and then she come off with Ethan had her. And after it went on for a while, I said, I'm gonna do something about this.
Do you ever recall seeing Megan when Evelyn was not with her?
Yes, ma'am. The end of our friendship.
What was your impression of Evelyn that day?
She was dirty, and I could smell her across the table.
So you went from Ethan to Hunter. So the last time you seen your daughter was sometime around Christmas.
I said, enough's enough. I said, come high hell water. I said, I'm gonna get on the phone. I said, I'm gonna find my granddaughter.
She would always say that Evelyn was mean as.
I didn't want to tell anybody that I didn't know where she was at.
So instead of saying I don't know where she is, you say that she's mean.
Excuse me.
Did you see Megan on the news interviews that she gave?
I did. She loves everybody. She's never been mean ever. I just want her back.
Do you want to testify?
No.
She has foil wrapped around her head, a blanket wrapped around that, inside a trash bag, upside down, in a trash can. People are asking Megan, how's Evelyn? What does Megan say? More than once? I mean, it's definitely not a very nice statement when your kid is shoved down into a trash can upside down. Can we look at that for a second? That's what she had her child living in. And within 2 months, Evelyn was dead.
She said Hunter was there when Evelyn died. They want you to believe that that's just impossible. His dad said he was schizophrenic. You're going to ask him if he talked about using an aluminum foil, tin foil. And he says, yeah, he talks about some off-the-wall stuff. Who's more likely to wrap that child in tin foil? The child's mother that has cared for the child, taking care of the child, or the boyfriend who's schizophrenic. We don't know what happened. He's 17 years old. He's not sophisticated. He's got a hard life.
A jury of your peers having found you guilty of first-degree murder and the perpetration of a felony. With the judgment of this court, you are guilty.
Here are my thoughts from the bench. I spent my career protecting children. I will never understand how anyone can hurt a child, much less putting her daughter, 15-month-old, in a trash bag, upside down, in a trash can. After living in squalor with the child, still with us, Sonny Slaughter and Franz Borgart. Sonny, let me start with you. You know I get going on this topic because child deaths are preventable. I don't understand how this continues to happen. What are your thoughts?
Oh, Judge Ashley, you know how I feel. You and I have done this together, and the rage that I have at these cases. And I said rage, and I meant rage, and I'm going to keep it together. The horror that this young child lived through for 15 months before her murder is unfathomable. Why do people keep doing this to their children, to any child? Give them to someone who loves them. Give them away. Don't keep them and hurt them and murder them. When I look at Evelyn's eyes, her little eyes say everything. She was so innocent, so pure. And her mother is exactly, I'm going to cut it short, exactly where she needs to be.
Yeah. So safe haven laws means that if someone has a baby that they can't or don't want to care for, they can leave it safely and not have criminal charges pressed against them. There are state child welfare agencies in every single state where individuals can relinquish their rights to that child. They can give it to a relative. Franz, when she was interviewed by the police, she talked and talked, but one of the things the police said during this was, you seem totally unfazed by this. Your thoughts?
I think she was unfazed by it. I think that she did not want this child. She thought the child was disposable, and she acted such. And look, I hate the idea of a parent, a person who is supposed to protect a child, killing a child. However, I will say that what we've seen in the system is sometimes we see the mothers or the fathers where there's an accidental death, and then there's the cover up from the accidental death based on the freaking out of, oh my God, my child's dead. This is not that case. This is, I don't want this human being, this tender, innocent child, and so I'm going to dispose of the child. And look, Evelyn deserved better. And this is why we have those laws that you referenced, Judge, is, look, you don't want to be a parent? That's okay. Someone will want to be a parent to this sweet child.
And I do understand that mothers can feel exceedingly overwhelmed, especially young mothers. But the point is, there are so many alternatives to get help. Ask for help. All right, our countdown continues after a short break. But first, a news story that we're following involving an NFL star accused of strangling his personal chef. New England Patriots wide receiver Stefon Diggs faces felony charges related to an alleged fight over pay. According to court documents, Diggs is charged with strangulation and misdemeanor assault. An attorney for Diggs says his client categorically denies these allegations. The Patriots and the NFL say they are aware of the charges but are not taking action at this time. Stefon Diggs' arraignment is set for January 23rd, just 2 days before the AFC Championship game. Diggs has been in the headlines quite a bit this year, known for his relationship with rapper Cardi B, whose trial we watched here on Court TV. Of course, we will continue to follow this developing story and bring you any new developments as soon as we learn them. Stay tuned. Still ahead, our countdown of the top trials of the year continues next with number 7, featuring a very high-profile defendant. Plus later, Raul Valle heads back to court after escaping a murder conviction earlier this year, where his trial lands in our top 10 trials of 2025.
What did you see Tyler Da Silva doing?
He was also on the ground getting beat on.
Why didn't you just get in that car and leave?
I saw my best friend, somebody that loved. Nobody was helping him.
The world's attention is focused on what we are doing here.
He claimed dying was not a crime, but prosecutors thought it was.
This is a murder trial. Jack Kevorkian killed by injecting him with drugs.
Dr. Kevorkian has never in life intended anybody to commit suicide.
He was the only person that could help.
Michigan versus Dr. Jack Kevorkian. The trials of Dr. Death, weekdays at 2 Eastern on Court TV, Legendary Trials.
What are you giving to the world? I don't think you know, man.
When my baby cries.
You gotta give her a bottle then. Know that you mean something to people. Know that you mean something to people. Like you live somewhere in people's heart.
My nose fell off.
No, my lip fell off.
Once Just at the top of his career, Sean Diddy Combs' fall from grace comes in at the number 7 spot in our top trials countdown this morning here at Court TV. The music mogul, once known for his Billboard hits and business finesse, is better known these days for his affinity for baby oil and so-called freak-offs. But it wasn't all bad news for the Bad Boy Records founder. A jury acquitted Combs of the most serious charges during his racketeering and sex trafficking trial earlier this year, those federal charges. And number 7 in our top trials of the year, United States versus Sean Diddy Combs.
A jury found him guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Jurors acquitted him of sex trafficking and racketeering charges, avoiding a potential life sentence. The disgraced hip-hop mogul dropped to his knees and prayed in the courtroom when the verdict was read.
It's a great victory for Sean Combs. It's a great victory for the jury system. We had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word.
During his trial, 2 of Combs' ex-girlfriends took the stand. They said they were forced to participate in drug-fueled sex marathons with male sex workers. Singer Cassie Ventura described being beaten and pressured to take part in what they called freak-offs.
And why did you continue to engage in freak-offs with Sean?
He would ask me. He would bring it up at random times. And I think, to a point, I just didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I didn't really know what no would be or what no could turn into.
Another one of Combs' ex-girlfriends testified under the pseudonym Jane. She testified that she also felt pressured into freak-offs and described Combs as violent.
And what happened as you were about to leave through the front door?
Sean kicked me from the back of my thigh, and then I fell down on my butt. And then he picked me up in a chokehold and choked me.
The Bad Boy Records founder has been in a notorious Brooklyn jail since his arrest last year. The jail is a far cry from the life of luxury that he once lived as a producer, entrepreneur, and rapper.
Combs was ultimately sentenced to 4 years and 2 months, but with time served, the rapper could get out in about 3 years, a very steep departure from the 11-plus years prosecutors were seeking. Sonny, this trial gave us, for some, an unwanted look behind closed doors of someone who has a lot of money, a lot of power, and some behaviors that maybe nobody likes to hear about, but aren't necessarily illegal in and of themselves if there's consensual sex. There was a lot more than that. What about his acquittal on the top charges?
Very interesting. You know, human trafficking is not only in my wheelhouse, it's something that I've been known for longer than most things. And what I will say is people's lack of understanding of human trafficking and the intersection of domestic violence and criminal behavior and victimization. The fact that he was not acquitted on the top count, like I said, although I don't always agree, I respect the jury's decision. And I think there's a lot to unpack in this particular case, even from a cultural standpoint. We want to give people a pass for some of their behaviors. The baby oil was so irrelevant, but there was so much and too much focus on it for me. This is a case that definitely tried the system and tried our understanding of criminal behavior as it surrounds human trafficking and victimization and criminal behavior intersecting domestic violence.
And of course, it was a federal trial, so there are no cameras in federal court. Franz, one of the things is, as viewers watched along with us, some said, and myself included, was it overcharged? Because the evidence, I think, supported the jury verdict. What are your thoughts?
I think that racketeering is a difficult crime to charge anybody with or a group of people with. It complicates things, and it's kind of, I felt like in this case, Judge, the prosecutors were trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. There were crimes that he definitely committed that were state crimes that maybe he was never prosecuted for. But the racketeering piece, and especially attaching it to the Mann Act, which, by the way, he was convicted of. That was what he got convicted of. It just felt like at the end of the day, it's like I sat back and I said, I don't agree with the behavior, but is this really the best utilization of our federal resources from a prosecution standpoint? Because this just doesn't seem it. So, yeah, I think it was tactically just a difficult uphill prosecution. And ultimately, he should have been prosecuted in state court for some of the violent crimes, and he just never was.
And a lot of people say, why wasn't he instead of the federal charges? Because statute of limitations had run. So when you see that horrible video of what he did to Cassie Ventura, and it is horrible, it is abuse, it is a crime, that statute of limitations had already run. But as of now, he's in jail. Goodbye to Sonny Slaughter and Franz Borgart. Happy New Year to you both. Thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate the great expertise. Coming up, we reveal our number 6 top trial that defined 2025 with shocking testimonies and dramatic verdicts. Where will your favorite trial rank on our countdown? Plus, later, a cold-blooded killer may have skirted the death penalty, but he was still made to face his victims' families. We've got the top trials that never made it to the hands of a jury coming up after our countdown continues right after the break. Stay with us on Court TV Live.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Kelly Craft. Thank you so much for being with us today, and happy New Year's Eve. This morning, we are counting down our top trials of 2025, from murder cases that gripped the nation to high-profile verdicts that made headlines. These are the trials that had you watching from gavel to gavel. Last hour, our number 10 spot was the love triangle beheading trial for Devyn Michaels. She was found guilty of bludgeoning and decapitating her ex-boyfriend. Then at number 9, the attempted honor killing trial for Hassan and Zwerner Ali. The jury ended up acquitting both parents of the top charge. Then at number 8, the baby Evelyn murder trial against Megan Boswell. She was convicted of killing her 15-month-old daughter. And then at number 7, Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial. The jury acquitted him of the most serious charges. And now coming in at number 6 on our list, this is the pageant queen murder trial for Trinity Poague. The 18-year-old who was once crowned Miss Donsville is now spending life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years, all for the murder of her boyfriend's 18-month-old son. Baby JD was found unresponsive in Poague's college dorm room on the campus of Georgia Southwestern State University. The child later died at a hospital. Now, the defense argued there was no evidence of a crime occurring in Poague's dorm. The state successfully argued that she was the only one left with JD at that time. From opening statements to that viral moment of Poague's reaction to her verdict, this trial was one of our most compelling. Here are some of the highlights from our number 6 top trial of 2025.
From his brain, there are bruises, multiple bruises, 4, 5, or more fresh bruises on the top of this child's head.
And they will have no evidence concerning the location of where a supposed crime scene occurred, and they'll have no evidence about a crime occurring at all. In other words, you'll see no blood evidence, you'll see no DNA evidence, you'll see no spittle evidence, you'll see no throw-up evidence.
I took him to the emergency room.
Okay. When you got to the emergency room, what happened?
The doctors, the nurses came back and got him, and they didn't want to let me back just then. Then that's when the security said what's going on. Initially, I told him I didn't know he was with my girlfriend. Then when my girlfriend got there, when she got there, she said he fell off a chair. They put us in like a room off, like out of the lobby, but it was like a room they put us in and waited to tell us the results or whatever.
Okay, so y'all were both in one room?
Yes, together.
What was your understanding of what they had found or what his condition was right then?
I cried school.
What was the statement that Joni made when she heard the report from the doctor?
If the baby dies, somebody's getting charged with murder.
If the baby dies, somebody's going to be charged with murder. When that statement was made, did Trinity Poague's demeanor or expression appear to change in any way?
Yes.
Had she ever told you that she didn't like JD? Or that she hated JD? Or made any comments like that?
She made comments, but it's like, but then like maybe a few hours like she like, I always treat him like he's mine.
Did she make comments about whether JD liked her?
Yes.
Okay, what were those comments? What was her?
She was like, he don't like me. I said, you got to give it time.
Okay. She said that he didn't like her, and you told her that she would have to give him time.
Yes.
It says, why do I feel anger towards JD? Like earlier when we were in bed and JD kept touching Jay's face, I almost cried.
Your response to that, which came again just a few seconds later, and this is at the bottom of page 113.
Okay.
Your response to that was what?
What do you mean, like you feel anger towards JD, question mark?
And then her reply to you a minute later, what was what?
Like, I don't know, not jealousy, but like I want to love him, but instead of loving, I just feel like angry, like want to punch him. LMFAO, OMG, that sounds so bad.
What was the message that she forwarded to you that she had sent to Jay earlier in that week or that day?
Read it aloud.
Please.
I've told you from the beginning that I would always try to love JD is the same as mine, but since me and you have gotten serious, every time I see him, I just get angry at the world, and I just have a gut feeling of anger. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I'm so young, and I know if I am committed to you, then I'm committed to him. You're 24 and I'm 18, and I know that the age difference isn't much, but you have a kid and you have more responsibilities than just spoiling me. I don't want to be your second baby mama. I wanted to be your first, but that won't ever happen, and I don't think that I can continue to be in a relationship with you and have that in the back of my mind.
What did she express to you as to how she felt about the child and the child as it related to her relationship with Mr. Williams?
I would say around the same things of she didn't know if she could love him like her own kid, that she would get angry at him when he was there.
Did she ever express her anger to you? Did she ever express her anger in a way related to how she felt about the child?
She would say such things as, I would want to run him over with my car.
She told you that she wished she could just run him over with her car?
She did.
Do you know the defendant, Trinity Poague?
Yes, sir. She was my babysitter for my children.
And how long a period of time was she the babysitter for your children?
She started watching my two stepkids that I have in 2020, and then I had my own child in 2022, and she also watched her.
And in all of those times that she babysit for you, were there ever any issues with her babysitting duties for the children?
No, sir.
Okay, when you were sleeping, got awakened. What awakened you?
A baby crying.
Actually, he cried a lot when he was there around Miss Poague, didn't he?
Yes, sir, every time.
Every time?
Yes, sir.
So what opinions did you hear her express about the child?
She was describing that she didn't particularly like him.
Did you have the occasion at any time to meet Trinity Poague?
Yes, sir.
How did you know her?
We were in the leadership program together.
Back on January 13th in the late night hours, anywhere from 10 o'clock forward, till January 14th, early morning hours, did you hear anything during that time period that was worth noting?
I heard the baby crying, sir.
What time was it when you heard that? Do you know?
It periodically throughout the night.
Do you have an opinion as to whether this injury to the back of the head could have occurred due to a child falling off of a bed sometime hours before and sustaining this injury, but it not being manifested until the next day?
I find that very unlikely. This, to me, appears to be inflicted, meaning the kid is either hit with something on the back of the head or picked up, small enough to be picked up and slammed against something, a hard surface, a chair, a top of a table, or something like that.
Did a bottle of rum or a dispute or a fight over social media passwords kill that child? No. What killed that child was, with beyond dispute, It was a massive, tremendous blow to the back of his head that cracked his skull from here to here. That girl killed that little boy.
The verdict reads as follows as to each count. On count 1, it says, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. On counts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of felony murder, 2 counts, aggravated battery, 2 counts, and cruelty to child in the first degree.
Let's go ahead and bring in our guests this hour to discuss trial attorneys Alexis Rosenberg as well as Dwight Williams. Thank you so much for being with us today on this New Year's Eve. All right, we are playing our top trials of 2025. This one for Trinity Poague. We saw that reaction. Alexis, I'll start with you. We saw that reaction to that top charge when that verdict came down, and she was very, very happy and surprised in a way that she didn't get that one, but then the next charges came down and she was found guilty. What's your take on this trial?
Well, I mean, anytime you have a case and with these circumstances, it is a difficult case because we have where did the injury occur. I think really what got her were those text messages and the communication that she really, unfortunately, despised this little toddler. And knowing that, you know, I question, why did the father, I mean, I guess it was out of necessity, keep leaving his child with a woman who obviously did not like the child at all?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. It was revealed during the trial that he had left and gone to Walmart, got some pizza and some drinks and things like that. So yes, if you're in a relationship and you know there's not the best relationship, maybe why would you leave the child with her? So good question. So we'll have to see exactly if we ever get any answers to that, but I can guarantee you we probably won't. But Dwight, why don't you weigh in on this case?
Yeah, it's such a tragedy. You know, in my line of work, I deal with a lot of children, a lot of custody issues, and to see the murder of such a young, innocent person, and then the person accused of it, straight A nursing student, college, obviously had some issues. You never quite know what's going on behind closed doors. I thought the jury, for the most part, got it right based upon the facts. I mean, the evidence of what occurred to this trial, the trauma, the brain, the skull fracture, you know, what else could have caused this child such injuries? It wasn't the child falling off the bed. I think the state did an effective job of lining that up with motive evidence. As Alexis said, the evidence of text messages and things of that nature. So I think case where the jury got it right. I think the state did a good job in a very difficult and tough situation. And once again, it's just so tough to see an innocent child hurt in such a manner.
Yeah, a very sad situation. You know, the prosecutor spoke to our Julie Grant after the verdict. They did an interview. Let's go ahead and play a little bit of it, and I'll get your reaction on the other side.
A lot of information concerning Ms. Poague that did not, that didn't come into evidence that we had available, I suppose, and some of it was things that I don't know would necessarily have been admissible. A lot of it was stuff that we chose not to use. I had 2 long interviews with her that she had done with the GBI, and I chose not to put those in unless she testified.
Okay, that was an interview that Julie Grant had done. Dwight, when we hear from attorneys after cases, it's always interesting to get their perspective as to different things, different strategies that they would have employed. So we always love to get that insight. What did you think of the things that he was saying?
I think it's quite extraordinary, agreed, that you would have that insight post-trial. And it's also remarkable to know, you know, just to think about the volume of evidence, information, testimony that attorneys consider when litigating cases. And quite often what you don't bring into evidence is just as important as what you do. And I think, once again, state did a very effective job, and certainly it seemed as if they did smart work in thinking as to what would help build their case as opposed to what would hurt it, made a good decision to hold their cards as related to these GBI interviews.
Yeah, good point, Dwight. Okay, we're going to squeeze in a quick break. Trinity Poague also landed a spot on Court TV's list of top verdicts of 2025. This year featured several shocking verdicts across the country. See who else made that list on our website at courttv.com. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to reveal who made number 5 on our countdown to top trials of the year. Stay with us.
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation.
What a day here at Court TV.
Fireworks both inside and outside the courthouse.
Let the cameras roll. Star.
And the first time you saw JT with a gun, he was at his desk, is that correct?
Yes.
The first time you saw a gun that day?
Yes.
And when you saw that, you were shocked?
Yes.
Because you didn't expect to see that, did you?
It was a real gun, yes.
Welcome back. We are counting down the top trials of 2025, and we're down to the top 5. Coming in at number 5, the multi-million-dollar lawsuit filed by a former elementary school teacher who was shot by a young student. Former teacher Abby Zwerner was seriously injured when a 6-year-old student brought a gun to school and shot her. She sued assistant principal Ebony Parker for $40 million, alleging that Parker ignored warnings that the student had a gun at school. This trial lasted 5 days, and ultimately, the jury sided with the plaintiff, Abby Zwerner, awarding her $10 million. Let's take a look now at key moments from our number 5 top trial of 2025.
So tell the jury, when on that day did you first hear about JT might have a gun?
It was before recess.
And do you remember who told you that?
Amy Kovac.
And when Amy Kovac told you that, why did you not go to Dr. Parker?
I knew that she was going to tell Dr. Parker.
Did Amy tell you she was going to tell Dr. Parker?
Yes, she told me that she was going to tell Dr. Parker.
And I asked him what was going on. He said, I can't tell you. And he was visibly nervous. And I said, it's okay, you can tell me. And he said, no, I can't. He said that he would hurt us, he would blow us up. And I said, well, what do you mean? I said, it's okay, you can tell me. And he told me, he said that JT had a gun and he saw it in the bullet. And I said, well, what color was it? Trying to see if it was real or not, I guess. And he said, well, it was bullet colored. And he was crying at that point, teary-eyed. And I had him come into my classroom and I called the office to report it. And Mr. Sims answered the phone. And then I went back to my door and Mr. Rawls was bringing my other student
And before
back
you
to me.
get into Mr. Rawls, why did you feel the need to call the office and report it?
Because R had said that JT had a gun.
What did you do after you heard the frantic call? I know, Mr. Rawls. It's okay.
I said, what's going on? And she said, he shot her. And I said, he did what? And she said, yeah. And I said, where's the weapon? Where's the gun? And she had pointed across to the hall. So I walked through the classroom on the far end, and the weapon was on the floor.
So we came through there's like double doors, and at that point I heard that gunshot, and instinctively I walked into that room. As I come in the door, Abby's on this side, I see blood on her leg, so I knew she was hit. I wasn't really sure. On this side, I see Jen open the door, the kids screaming and running out. I felt like I had a bubble of God around me, and I walked straight to him. He was standing there with his legs kind of spread open, arms crossed and cocky. And when I got to him, I didn't say anything. I took his wrist because I knew he shot with his left hand. I walked to Abby's desk where her phone was. I put him in between my legs, put my arms around him. I picked up the phone to call 911.
How many times was she shot? How many gunshots did you hear? One. Gunshot, okay. Sorry, ma'am, we're gonna get up close and personal with you, okay? Please.
You're okay.
Got actively bleeding right now.
Nothing on the lower.
Okay. I'm gonna roll you over a little bit, okay? I wanna see if you're clean out. Okay. Go ahead and lift your arm a little bit. Okay. Are you okay anywhere else?
Yep.
And what is the last thing you remember that day at the school?
The last thing I remember at the school, obvious, I thought I was dying. I thought I had died. I thought I was either on my way to heaven or in heaven, but then it all got black, and so I then thought I wasn't going there.
When you saw your daughter, what was her appearance like? What was her demeanor like?
I mean, she was in pain, you know, all bandaged up, all tubes and machines hooked up to her. Her arm was all wrapped up, and she saw me come through the room and she just said, "Mommy."
Where this bullet ended up, it went past the heart and just barely missed it, and then also ended up within 2 centimeters of the biggest artery in the entire body, which you know, patients would bleed to death in seconds from an injury to that vessel.
Dr. Munn, where is that bullet that went into her body? Is it still there?
Yes, it's still in her.
And why was the bullet not removed?
So for something like this, it is actually way more dangerous to remove the bullet than it is to leave it in place, because all of those structures that I described that it's so close to are very difficult to get to. And so we leave it in place, assuming that it hasn't caused any additional harm at this point, now that she's stabilized from it, and hope that it won't cause any further harm going forward.
Abby's hand is never going to be a normal hand. It's not going to be like her other side. But we've got it pretty darn close, and a lot of it's attributed to how hard she worked with therapy to do that. I mean, you can do a perfect surgery. If the patient doesn't do any therapy, they're not going to get a good outcome. So she's done a lot of work. I think she's done remarkably well with the number of injuries she's had there, but it's never going to be a normal hand.
Do you see that same light, that same color in Abby that you used to see?
No.
Can you tell us what you do see?
Someone who is scared but trying to be strong for other people.
Is that what you see today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah. Those are all the questions I have.
Do you have any opinion on whether Dr. Parker could have foreseen JT's actions that day based on the information that she had?
I think it would be difficult for anyone to have foreseen that. I think the actions of everyone involved indicate that they were doing an analysis, but yet that they did not perceive this to be a plausible, imminent threat, both the behaviors as well as the actions.
We, the jury, on the issues joined, find in favor of the plaintiff, Abigail Zwerner, and assess her damages at $10 million. The award interest beginning on June 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Let's go ahead and bring in trial attorneys Alexis Rosenberg and Dwight Williams. Alexis, I want to start with you. This was a big trial we watched here at Court TV and making our top list here. The jury finding in favor of the plaintiff, this was all about foreseeability. Did they know that he was going to bring a gun to school? Did they foresee this event happening? It was argued back and forth. What's your take on this one?
Well, first of all, this happened near where I grew up, and we have to remember this is a civil case, so there's a different standard. So it was really important that not only that they proved the foreseeability, but also they proved the damages. But what's also unique about this case is generally this would fall under workers' compensation. They would not generally even be able to go into court under what they did, negligence. And they were able to get around that, which was a huge hurdle, saying that more or less a shooting at school was unique and it wasn't common to her job, which, you know, also with all these shootings, that's arguable too that we have going on in schools currently. But they were able to show that basically the assistant principal did not do her job, did not do what she should have done. She was on notice to stop this incident from happening, along with proving the damages to the amount of $10 million.
Yeah, Alexis, that's a good point because of that workers' compensation thing. And, you know, you mentioned she was on notice. So that was a big thing that was discussed. Somebody had gone in there, said that a child possibly may have a gun, and then there was testimony to indicate that she didn't do anything, that she just continued sitting in her chair. I think that really was tough for a lot of the jury members to hear. Dwight, what's your reaction to this case?
Yeah, a few things. Number one, what a sympathetic victim, plaintiff. I mean, I typically say when I walk into court with a teacher, educator, it's a good day for me. The jurors and judges really respect that profession. What occurred to this teacher, outrageous, you know, to come to school that day and to be shot by a first grader. Just imagine that, think of that, that occurring. And then ultimately, what did this assistant principal do? And more importantly, what did she not do that day and the days leading into this? I mean, she had credible information, knowledge about what was going on. She had teachers reporting to her that this child likely had a gun, teachers urging her to search this child, and that just didn't take place. So it's just kind of, once again, just outrageous what occurred to this teacher, and more importantly, the inaction of this assistant principal. I think the result here, the jurors saw something that they just could not stand for, and awarded this victim who was harmed. She still has a bullet inside of her, was awarded not the full amount, but $10 million, which is significant.
Yeah, definitely significant. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to squeeze in a break. Coming up, a murder suspect gets a not guilty verdict. It's our number 4 trial of 2025, but that wasn't the case for some accused killers, including Brian Kohberger. He avoided trial and the death penalty by changing his plea to guilty. This took place just before his trial for murdering 4 University of Idaho students was set to start this summer. Check out our list of the top plea deals of 2025 on courttv.com. We're coming right back.
Mr. Foreperson, your note indicated, and that's Exhibit 10, or at Exhibit 10, your note indicated that the jury, after lengthy deliberations, was hopelessly deadlocked on manslaughter in the first degree reckless in violation of Connecticut General Statutes 53A, 55A3 as a lesser included offense at count 1. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So you were unable to reach a unanimous verdict as to that particular charge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Kelly Craft. Many of the trials that we have covered here at Court TV have left our viewers wondering what it's like in the mind of the jury, especially in the trial for Raul Valle, which made number 4 on our countdown to the top trials of 2025. Back in July, a Connecticut jury found him not guilty of murder in the stabbing death of 17-year-old Jimmy McGrath. But they were deadlocked on several lesser charges, prompting the judge to declare a partial mistrial. Valle, who was 16 years old at the time of the incident, claims that he stabbed McGrath in self-defense. The altercation happened after tensions between rival schools boiled over across 2 house parties in May of 2022. Before I bring in my guest to discuss, we want to take a closer look at this number 4 trial on our list, the Preppy Party murder trial. Let's watch.
And I seen Jimmy, like, just sitting there bleeding out. And Sal and Jacob were, like, trying to help him. And after that, someone came up to me with a flashlight, and they was like, face on your arm. And all I saw was like a big piece of fat, like hanging out of my arm, and just blood like bleeding down the side of me.
I took a flashlight out from my phone, and I put it on my leg, and then I realized my leg from my quad all the way down to my ankle was covered in blood. There was no skin to see, and my shoes were covered in blood.
I kind of was just over top of the defendant, punched him in the face 2 times, and then I just felt a jab in my side, and I looked down, and I see the defendant with his right hand clenched up in a ball like this, and he's just poking at my side.
I saw my best friend, somebody that loved. Nobody was helping him.
So how did you feel?
Still terrible. But I couldn't just let him be there alone. I felt like I had to save him.
You were not encircled, right?
But was there anybody behind me?
Right. There's nobody behind you.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right. So you could have, if you chose to, but you did not. You could have left. You could have retreated, right?
No.
So you could not have left because there were people around you?
Yes.
So you just said that there was a semicircle of people on the yard. Now you're saying that you were surrounded.
It was like this.
So a semicircle, right?
Yeah, I wasn't going to turn my back to that many people.
This is what self-defense looks like. It's messy. It's chaotic. It transpires quickly, and you don't have to make the best decision. That's not what the law requires. These kids at 43 Laurel Glen Drive were like torches. My client and his friends, they were like straw. Throw those torches in there, put them all together. There's absolutely no way to know what is going to happen as that wildfire starts to catch.
This case is about Raul Valle, the defendant, who brought a knife to 43 Laurel Glen on May 14th of 2022 and provoked a fight and stabbed 4 kids 9 times, killing 1. That's what this case is about. He was mad. He was pissed. He was angry. And he had a knife.
Will the defendant, Raul Valle, please rise and face the jury? Do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
I can't even imagine that, I'm standing here giving this part of the speech. I mean, I was ready for maybe manslaughter. I was not ready for not guilty.
Still with us, trial attorneys Alexis Rosenberg and Dwight Williams. Dwight, I will start with you. This was a tough trial to watch. We had a defendant who was much younger at the time of the incident, and then when you would see him on the stand, he had grown. He had become really a young man. So I think in a way that was tough for some people because it looked like he was much bigger than he actually was when the incident happened, and he was.
Yes, that's good insight. I mean, certainly, I think luckily for him, the event was videotaped. So you have this time capsule of the incident where the jurors were able to see how he looked, how he was representing himself at the time that this incident took place. Also, of significance to me in this case is the fact that he did take the witness stand in a criminal case. Unusual for a defendant to do that. Typically, you see it in self-defense situations.
Yeah, you normally see it there. But Alexis, were you surprised that he ended up taking the stand? We're taking a look at some of that surveillance video here, and you can just see how this fight between the two rival schools continued to escalate and then ended in tragedy. Were you surprised he took the stand?
Kelly, I wasn't surprised he took the stand at all in this case because we are saying self-defense. He needed to explain what he was feeling at that moment and that he felt that his life was in danger. So it was required in this situation to take the stand. But I also, I think the prosecutor really summed it up. The bottom line is he brought a knife to a fist fight. And it really is sad because it was obviously poor judgment of a 16-year-old. And this should have just been a little brawl, fist fight, high school guys getting, that out, and not where we had one dead child. And then we had 3 others that were severely injured.
Yeah, if I can remember some of the testimony correctly, I think he was saying that a friend handed him maybe the knife, if I can remember that. And then it was like this split-second decision, which obviously ended in tragedy. How a quick moment can change your life. We see it all the time. Alexis, thank you so much for your insight. Before we do head to break, we are following some major developments in that case of the missing Texas teen who vanished on Christmas Eve. A body and a gun were found on Tuesday. 19-year-old Camila Olmos was last seen leaving from her home early Christmas Eve morning. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office said they found a body about a few hundred yards from her home.
Found a body in the field nearby here. At this point, it's too early to tell if the body that we found is that of At this point, we don't suspect foul play. As you all know, one of the possibilities that we were working under was fear of self-harm. And at this point, there are some indicators that the body that we found may be as a result of that.
The sheriff added that the clothes on the body matched the description of what Olmos was wearing the last time that she was seen. During the search, authorities released this video from a driver that shows someone resembling the teen around 7 a.m. the morning that she had left. We'll continue to follow this case closely and bring you updates right here on Court TV. And coming up, find out which trial comes in at number 3 in our countdown to top trials of 2025. Plus, some of the most memorable moments in a trial can come when the defendant decides to testify in their own defense. From celebrities like Cardi B to accused murderers. Check out our list of defendants who took the stand this year on CourtTV.com. Stay tuned. We'll bring you more after this very short break.
The world's attention is focused on what we are doing here.
He claimed dying was not a crime, but prosecutors thought it was.
This is a murder trial. Jack Kevorkian killed by injecting him with drugs.
Dr. Kevorkian has never in life intended anybody to commit suicide.
He was the only person that could help. Michigan versus Dr. Jack Kevorkian. The trials of Dr. Death. Weekdays at 2 Eastern on Court TV, Legendary Trials. Welcome to...
If you're going to introduce how you have great character and good character, we're going to have a short hearing on what evidence that they can bring in to rebut that character, which could include being convicted of 4 murders. So
and would you
talk to your advisory counsel during the break. And
you don't need to yell at me either.
I'm at you, okay?
Yeah, you are, and you do not need to talk to me that way. I'm very courteous. I'm very courteous to you.
No, you have been nothing near courteous to me during the course of these proceedings.
That was just one of the many dramatic moments in the latest murder trial for doomsday cult mom Lori Daybell. Daybell had 2 separate trials this year. They were both so compelling and interconnected that we couldn't separate them even in our countdown. So both trials come in as our number 3 trial of 2025. In June, a jury convicted Daybell of conspiracy to attempt to kill her ex-nephew-in-law, Brandon Boudreaux. And then back in April, another jury found Daybell guilty of conspiring to kill her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. She was already serving 2 life sentences for killing her 2 young children and a romantic rival in Idaho. Daybell acted as her own attorney, leading to several clashes with the judge. Now let's look at some of the most memorable moments from her trial and sentencing.
I recall that she
spoke about her husband being possessed.
He called and he said, he's dead. I Googled him and he's dead. Alex killed him.
Did you ever speak with Charles Vallow about Lori Vallow interfering with your marriage with Melanie?
Yes, I did.
When you were asked by Detective Pillar if there was anyone you knew who might want to harm you, were you able to provide any names?
It was two people. It was Lori and Alex.
I mean, if I open the door, do I get a hearing? We stop trial and I get a hearing on...
Stop.
As to the crime of count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder occurring on or about October 2nd, 2019, as follows. Guilty.
I trusted y'all with my family, the only son I had, because I couldn't give him the life that y'all could give him. I've dealt with the torment of making that choice. I'm here today to forgive you.
You call yourself a mother, a wife, a woman of God. You are none of these things. You are a liar, a fraud, and a murderer. You are not exalted. You are not translated. You are a manipulator, a parasite, and a coward. This courtroom is full. It's not because people admire you. It's not because they see instrument in God's hands. It's because you're a sideshow freak, a murderous carnival act. People come to gawk at the monster. It was 13 years today that JJ's adoption was finalized, and they moved him immediately right away to Hawaii. And I hope you remember that. I trusted you!
Still with us, trial attorneys Alexis Rosenberg and Dwight Williams. Alexis, I'll start with you. You know, when you hear victim impact statements, they are always tough to listen to, such emotions running high and people able to kind of express their feelings as to what took place, the tragedy they experienced in their lives. What do you make of the whole Lori Daybell saga?
I mean, this is just a really crazy story. It's not a story, it's reality. If this was in a movie, all of the things this woman has done, I don't think anybody would believe that it was possible. I mean, and then she's in court and she's getting sassy with the judge and acting in that manner and thinking that that's appropriate. I mean, there's just so many things with regard to her behavior, with regard to what happened. It's just truly unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable. Dwight, you know, we're going to play a little bit of her closing argument because she was her own attorney here and she was really pleading with the jury, talking about this being a family tragedy. Let's play a little bit and I'll talk with you about it on the other side.
On June 25th, 2019, Brandon Boudreau decided that I was responsible for his family tragedy. And I'm really sorry that he feels that way.
No, Your Honor, I'm going to object again to testimony.
Dwight, you don't see a lot of objections during an attorney's closing, but here again, she represented herself and the prosecutor continually objected during her closing because she was saying things that she wasn't supposed to say. What did you make of that little snippet we played?
Well, as Alexis said, how could you possibly conceive of this? One of the victims said she was kind of a sideshow freak, and really throughout the course of this trial, just issue after issue with her. And I really thank Judge Beresky for putting the reins on her to afford her a fair trial, which she's entitled to, but also to keep the litigation moving. More importantly, as related to the closing arguments, the prosecutor's there for a reason. She has to object to certain things that she's testifying to, which is not the point of a closing argument. It's to wrap up the story, if you will, for the jury. So, unfortunate that this had to take place. I encourage folks to watch the judge's sentencing address to Daybell. It's a great address as to why this trial took place and the importance of the jury system in our country.
Alexis, just your closing thoughts on, someone representing themselves. We saw Lori throughout this case. We were out there. I was out there for a trial. Her walking in, being really agreeable and friendly to everyone that was in the gallery there. And then she went up there and she cross-examined witnesses. She delivered an opening. She delivered her close. The judge wasn't happy with her a lot of the time, though.
It's a bad decision. I mean, even if you're an attorney, there's a saying that if an attorney represents themselves, they have a fool for a client. An attorney shouldn't represent themselves, let alone someone that has no understanding of the law.
Exactly. All right, our thanks to Alexis Rosenberg as well as Dwight Williams for joining us this morning. Always appreciate your insight, and Happy New Year to both of you. After the break, we are going to reveal our top 2 most compelling trials of 2025. Which trial do you think deserves the top spot? We've covered so many of them this year, so it's going to be interesting to see what's at number 1 and number 2. Also later, a father goes from pleading for help to find his missing son to pleading guilty to his child's murder. We've got the top trials that never made it to the hands of a jury. That is coming up next. You're watching Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This is Court TV Live. I'm Cody Thomas. Now, this morning we are counting down our top trials of 2025, and the moment has finally arrived. The moment we reveal our top 2 trials for the entire year. Now, we've seen trials that had shocking evidence, emotional testimony, and verdicts that divided us all. Now, these are the trials that had you watching from gavel to gavel. Here's a look back at what we've covered so far today. At number 10, the love triangle beheading trial of Devyn Michaels. Number 9, the attempted honor killing trial of Ihsan and Zara Ali. And number 8, the baby Evelyn murder trial for Megan Boswell. Number 7, the Diddy sex trafficking trial. Now, last hour, we had the pageant queen child murder trial of Trinity Poague come in at number 6. And for number 5, the civil trial for Abby Zwerner versus former principal Ebony Parker. And number 4, the acquittal of Raul Valle in the Preppy Party murder trial. And at number 3, the 2 trials for Lori Daybell in Arizona. Now, the matriarch mastermind takes the number 2 spot after a jury found her guilty in the murder for hire that left her ex-son-in-law dead.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as the count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count 3. We, the jury, find as follows as the count 3 of the indictment, solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder.
Now, clearly the verdict came as a complete shock to the 75-year-old defendant. She was convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation in the shooting death for Florida State University professor Dan Markell. Now, Markell and Donna's daughter, Wendy Adelson, were locked in a bitter custody battle when he was gunned down at his Tallahassee home in 2014. Now, Adelson's son, Charlie, along with 3 other co-defendants, were found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy and handed life sentences a few years prior to Donna Adelson's trial. Now, you'll recall, Adelson was arrested at the airport before boarding a flight to Vietnam, a non-extradition country. Now, during the trial that lasted just over 2 weeks, her friends were called to the stand, and their testimony was key to the outcome of this case. Here are some of the highlights from our number 2 top trial of 2025.
With respect to Mrs. Adelson and your observations of her over these, 15 years, have you found her to be a hateful person?
Never.
Is she aggressive towards others?
Never.
Have you ever heard her threaten anyone?
Never.
Have you ever seen her harm anyone?
Never.
Have you ever heard her threaten to have somebody harmed?
No.
Did she ever make statements to you? Well, let me ask you this first. You were friends with her, obviously, when Wendy was going through her divorce.
Yes.
During that time period, through the divorce, and up to the time that Danny Markell was killed, you're aware that he was murdered?
Yes, I am.
Okay. At any time during that period, did she ever say she wanted to have Danny Markell killed?
Never.
Ever say she wanted him to be harmed?
Never.
She got upset, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how is it that she displayed her anger over that situation?
She would be frustrated, and then she would calm down.
I want to talk to you. I'll lead you forward to the date that Danny Markell was murdered. That was July the 18th of 2014. Do you recall speaking to Mrs. Adelson on that date?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you explain to us how you were contacted and the nature of the conversation?
I was called, and Donna was quite hysterical.
Did she seem to be at a point in time where she had just learned what had occurred?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you whether she had just learned that this had happened?
Yes.
Okay.
She did.
I'm sorry?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And during the course of your discussion with her about what had transpired, did she continue with this state of mind that she was upset?
Yes.
Okay. And while she was upset, what did she indicate to you?
She told me that Danny had been shot and that they were going to Tallahassee and that she was very concerned and worried about Wendy and the boys.
Were you aware that their son Charlie was arrested in this investigation?
Yes.
Okay. During Charlie's trial, can you describe Donna and Harvey's state of mind, how they were feeling about things?
To put it mildly, extremely upset, off the wall.
After the conviction, did you become aware that Harvey and Donna were trying to travel to clear their heads?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know whether or not that was a permanent move or was it temporary?
It was, to the best of my knowledge, a temporary move. It was approximately November, and they were coming back in January or February for their youngest grandchild's bar mitzvah.
So, although they were traveling, they made it clear that they'd be back for the bar mitzvah.
Yes. Donna had told Annie that she purchased a dress.
Can't say what somebody else said. Just you.
Yes, I was aware they were going to return.
Under any set of circumstances, would they not have returned?
I don't know. Under normal circumstances, they would move heaven and earth to be there for that traditional occasion.
Were you somewhat savvier than they when it comes to booking travel?
Oh yeah, I've been to 75 countries around the world.
Okay. And were you asked to assist them in any way on November 7th of 2023?
Yes.
And specifically, what were you asked to do?
Initially, I helped Donna with the visa. And then when we were done applying for the visa, Donna took Susan to show her the dress that she bought for bar mitzvah, and then she asked Harvey to sit down with me and make plane reservations.
Okay. When you sat down to assist with the reservations, what did you discover?
The ironic thing was that the round trip was a fraction more than one way, and I suggested, since you don't know when you're coming back until sometime in January, book a one-way. And I remember commenting to Harvey, I said, I'd be willing to bet it's cheaper to fly from Vietnam to the United States than it is from the United States to Vietnam.
Do you recall giving a deposition? It was by Zoom, but I was present, August 29th, 2024.
Vaguely.
And in that deposition, weren't you asked, so did you make any of the decisions when to travel or how to travel, or were you just the conduit to the technology? And your answer was the conduit for the technology.
Yes.
But today you're saying you're the one that suggested that they fly one way.
Objection, Your Honor, improper impeachment.
Overruled.
Isn't that right?
Well, to me, that's part of being the conduit, just suggesting.
Now, Donna Adelson continued to proclaim her innocence at her sentencing in October, and the judge didn't take too kindly to her allocution. Take a listen to this.
I had no idea that other people planned to cut Danny's life short. And the people who did this are exactly where they deserve to be. But I had no knowledge that this horrible, evil act was going to take place. If I had become aware of this plan before Danny was murdered, I would have stopped it. With not one iota of actual evidence, the state convinced a Tallahassee jury that I solicited and conspired with other people to have Danny killed. Where is the evidence prior to the murder?
The court can take into consideration the utter lack of remorse that you are displaying.
Now, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. All right, let's bring in our guest this hour to discuss. Trial attorney Krista Ramey, great to see you, my friend, and prosecutor Matt Roberts. Hope you guys had a wonderful holiday. Matt, I want to start with you. Now, we saw there in the allocution, Donna was all talking about no knowledge of this whole plan, and she was all talking those pretrial hearings, talking about her jail conditions and the lack of accommodations behind bars. And I remember thinking when this was going on, I was like, she's being very vocal. She's gonna take the stand. She just has to take the stand, but she did not. Do you think that helped or hurt her case, or do you think it would have made any difference at all?
Well, good morning. Happy holidays to everyone. I'm not sure it would have made a difference. Quite frankly, usually defendants testifying don't help cases. And certainly I think the prosecution would have been able to catch her in some of the inconsistencies and ask some really difficult questions there. So I don't think it really would have made a difference there. But you're right. She was pretty vocal about, I didn't know this and I didn't know that. And that's why I think really it just fell hollow for the judge there in the allocution, as you saw with his reaction to her allocution.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, after watching this all play out, I mean, what is this, the 5th conviction in this case? I think she would have been sliced and diced on cross-examination if she would have taken the stand. Krista, Donna's defense attorney, I remember this specifically in closings. She said, quote, "A theory doesn't prove a crime." Now, on paper, of course, that holds a little bit of weight. But when you have Donna and Harvey heading to a one-way flight to Vietnam, a non-extradition country, after Charlie's conviction and after she searches on her phone countries with no extradition, I mean, you don't want to insult the jury's intelligence like that, right?
Right. I mean, I think that a lot of times when we're coming up with our, arguments and our hooks for jurors that we think that they might catch on, maybe sometimes we're being too cute by half here, because you're right. Absolutely, Cody. And there was such the pile of evidence anyway, not just the searches leading up to this, trying to get on this flight to, a non-extradition country. There was so much that she knew about that we saw during this trial, things that I didn't even really know. And having followed this case from the very beginning, the fact that, she had information about when he was traveling in his car and his license plate number and all of this stuff that an ex-mother-in-law just really shouldn't know about her ex-son-in-law. There was so much circumstantial evidence that linked this conspiracy together. I thought that the prosecution did such an incredible job. And so I think that it was just, we're trying to find that hook, and it probably did insult the jury just a little bit.
And Matt, that kind of segues into my next question. Krista mentioned there was a lot of circumstantial evidence in this case. Now, you're a prosecutor in a court of law, and in a case like this one and other ones similar, from a prosecutorial point of view, is circumstantial evidence just as powerful as hard physical evidence when you have as much as we saw in this trial?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be. It helps if you have a judge that will be very explicit with the jury to indicate that circumstantial evidence is to be considered the same as direct evidence. It can be just as compelling because I think juries do sometimes have a preconceived notion that circumstantial evidence is somehow a bad thing. Like, oh, it's circumstantial. It's all circumstantial. I had a judge that used to say that and make the point to the jury that you can use it. So in a case like this, you're probably going to have a substantial amount of circumstantial evidence because there were no direct co-conspirators actually testifying testifying against her, that it was all these inferences that you can draw from the non-extradition country searches and the license plate and all those types of things. So you have to build a case like this with circumstantial evidence, and it's a challenge, but it obviously can be done.
Matt and Krista sticking around for the rest of the hour, but folks, right now we have to step aside for a quick break. But coming up, we reveal number 1 on our list of top trials in 2025. What made this one most memorable aside from the verdict? That's next. And you can check out on courttv.com where we have a list of the defendants who took the stand to testify in their own defense this year. Keep it right here on your front row seat to justice.
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation.
What a day here at Court TV.
Fireworks both inside and outside the courthouse.
Let the cameras roll.
That God answered our prayers and have set her free.
What was your thoughts when the verdict was read?
I'm just beside myself. I am so happy. We waited for this, and justice is finally served. Now we can get justice for John O'Keefe.
What a whirlwind. Now, it was moments like that that made the Karen Read retrial our number 1 top trial of 2025. It's the case that absolutely captivated Dedham, Massachusetts, and the entire nation. Now, Read was accused of killing her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, back in January of 2022 by hitting him with her Lexus SUV and leaving him to die in the snow after a night of heavy drinking. Now, her defense team blamed O'Keefe's fellow officer buddies for killing him in a house fight and dragging his body outside the Dedham home and tampering with evidence in order to frame Karen Read. Now, her retrial drew a large crowd of supporters in a sea of pink, chanting that the case was a police cover-up. Now, the scene outside of the courthouse almost became a bigger storyline than the case itself, sparked by the moment when that jury returned with a verdict, and that's why the Karen Read trial is our number 1 trial of 2025.
A murder in the second degree. What say you? Is the defendant at the bar guilty or not guilty? Not guilty. 002. What say you? Is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty? Not guilty. Is not guilty or guilty of that charge or the lesser included charge? Thank you. Specifically, number 5. Operating under the influence of liquor by operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. Correct? So say you, Mr. Foreman? Guilty. So say you all? Yes. 003. What say you? Is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death? Is the defendant not guilty or guilty? Not guilty. So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all? Yes. All rise.
Let's bring back in our guests to discuss. Trial attorney Krista Ramey and prosecutor Matt Roberts. Krista, I want to start with you. And I mean, there's just a whirlwind, a circus going on surrounding this case up in Dedham, Massachusetts. I was up there back in May for a week alongside Vinnie Politan. We were intermingling with some of these supporters. And Krista, I guess my question is, I just want to get your thoughts on the outcome of this verdict. I mean, after all those supporters there not believing a word that the Commonwealth had to say, there's all these corruption allegations. We did not hear from fired Trooper Proctor this go round, all that talk of corruption boiling over in the streets of Dedham. Do you think any of that had any play in this verdict?
Yeah, this verdict compounded me. It really did. I expected the hung jury during the first trial. I thought that the prosecution did not do as good of a job as they did in this one. In this one, they knew the playbook of the defense. They had experts lined up for the, to contradict the, the experts for the biomechanics and the accident reconstruction that the defense had. They just had a better, they didn't overreach in this case, the prosecution. They did such a great job. I thought there was no way. I didn't think that this, second degree murder charge was going to be there, but I thought for sure this was, involuntary or voluntary manslaughter because of her alcohol, level, and just the evidence was just pretty overwhelming. And this case confounded me, and I think that it did have a lot to do with the publicity and the hype, and that has to play a role for these jurors when they're coming into this courthouse. They're not isolated from this. This is not a vacuum that they are, they're, put in through a different door. So what? They know what's going on. And anyone that tells me a juror doesn't Google me, doesn't look me up, doesn't look up my cases, of course they do. They know everything. They break those rules all the time. This was just a media circus, and that is the outcome we get. And I don't know that O'Keefe's family will ever really get justice, rightly or wrongly here.
And that kind of segues into my next question, because Krista and Matt, this case isn't entirely over just yet. We have that civil trial coming up next year. The wrongful death suit from the O'Keefes to Karen Reed, but then Karen Reed is countersuing, witnesses and investigators saying that she was the result of this frame job, this cover-up by the Boston police up there. Matt, how do you think she'll fare in this civil case versus the criminal case? What differences might she face? We know high-profile attorney Alan Jackson is back on her team. What's this going to look like for her?
Well, I guess my hope here is that, as Krista pointed out there, that there's some justice, at least some small measure of justice for the family of the victim here, because, lost in all of that celebration about her innocence or her being found not guilty, not innocent, is that there is still a victim's family here that's searching for answers. So I hope they can get some of those answers in the civil case. Obviously, the parallel here is the OJ trial, right? The civil trial after the high-profile not guilty verdict, and we know how that went for OJ. So it certainly could go against her in this case, but obviously the big win for her is not spending a significant chunk of her life, if not life without parole, in prison here. So I do hope there's some justice to be had here for the family in the civil case for sure.
Absolutely. And, I remember that jury was made up of 7 women and 5 men. I'm sure, in the modern era, as Krista said, people are looking up and doing things on their phones. I'm sure some of those factors were definitely at play in how this came.